So good morning to all of you. Yes. So all of us have assembled here to find solutions to one of the important papers of your general studies, ethics, integrity and aptitude. I think all of you have the syllabus with you. Yes? Okay. First let us see why UPSC has included this topic in your syllabus, so that you will understand the essence of this paper, which is part of your syllabus. This was included in 2013 as part of the changes introduced by UPSC in the examination process. But the history of this paper goes back to a very long period of time. In 1990s, UPSC made changes to the syllabus of UPSC, wherein they had included more number of science optionals, engineering optionals. So what happened was it had changed the composition of civil services in India forever. Mostly students from science background were getting into services, but administration is completely different. And what UPSC has done was it was not able to recruit the right kind of people into civil services, because you need people with knowledge of administration, and more than the knowledge of administration, you need people with commitment to become good civil servants. But UPSC was only testing knowledge of different subjects, which was neither necessary nor sufficient for them to become successful civil servants. So by early 2000s, UPSC recognized the problem that their recruitment process was not either objective or rational. So a committee was appointed, YK Alak committee was appointed to suggest reforms. The Alak committee, this committee has said that you please change your recruitment process. Why? Because optionals are getting undue importance in the civil service examination, and most of these optionals are science optionals, which do not contribute anything in terms of knowledge and experience to civil services. So Alak committee has recommended removal of optionals, and more importantly, introduction of this aptitude tests, because what is required for a good civil servant is the knowledge of administration, aptitude, and more importantly, attitude, values. And UPSC was neither testing the knowledge of administration nor values that are needed for civil services. So this was recommended by the committee and other committees which were later appointed by the UPSC and the government, like PC Hota committee, and then second Administrative Reforms Commission. All these commissions and committees have only suggested reforms in the recruitment process. They said that you must do something, because otherwise it is resulting in derogation of civil services. It is resulting in wrong people getting selected into civil services. So finally UPSC woke up and it had made changes to the examination. It has removed one optional to reduce uncertainty, to reduce inequality, and it has introduced 5 papers of general studies. And one paper that it has introduced was this ethics, integrity and aptitude. Basically the objective of introducing this paper is to see whether you have the necessary knowledge, aptitude and values, attitude to become a good civil servant, to be a good civil servant. Because at the end of the day, you are going to be administrators, you are not going to be physicists, you are not going to be economists, you are not going to be scientists, but you are going to be administrators. If you happen to see the newspaper today, I think Indian Express, there was this article about lateral entry into civil services. I hope you must have seen it. So wherein Duburi Subbarao, he was the topper of civil service examination in 1960s. Later he went on to become a finance secretary, then ultimately RBI governor. Lots of experience in administration. He had written about this lateral entry into civil services. So basically the objective of introducing this paper is to find out whether the students have the necessary knowledge and values to be a good administrator. The syllabus for this paper was designed in such a manner to evaluate the personality of civil servants, the personality of prospective civil servants. What happened was that these training institutions, Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy of Administration, Mussoorie, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel National Police Academy, Hyderabad, Income Tax Academy, Nagpur, and Customs Academy, Faridabad, they have complained to UPSC that those who are getting into services do not possess the right kind of attitude for civil services. Average age of people getting into services is around 29 years. By that age, the personality is fully developed, and once they go to training for these institutions, it has become difficult for these training institutions to change the attitudes, values of these people, because your personality is fully developed. Another problem is that this training is not taken seriously by civil servants because their performance during training has no impact on their career. Your rank, service, cadre, everything is decided before you go to training institutions. So obviously they don't take this training seriously. So what they have done is that they have requested UPSC, please test the knowledge values. Please test the knowledge and values related to administration. Knowledge and values related to administration before the examination, because after they get into services, it is not possible. After they get into services, it is not possible to teach them values. It is not possible to teach them values. So in the examination itself, see whether they have the right kind of values or not. In the examination itself, see that whether they have the right kind of values or not. That is the reason why this paper is divided into two parts. The section A deals with the theoretical aspects, and section B, case studies, deals with practical aspects of administration. It deals with practical aspects of administration. So, what you must be expected to do as part of this paper? What you must be expected to as part of this paper? What is required for you? Do you require the in-depth knowledge of philosophers and philosophies? Do you require in-depth knowledge of psychological aspects? Or do you require in-depth knowledge of administration? What is required? What is required for this paper? Because if you look at the syllabus of this paper, it can be broadly divided into these three categories. One is the knowledge of philosophers. Second one is attitudinal aspects in terms of behavior and attitudes. Third one is administrative aspects. So what is required for this? What is required for this is not the individual knowledge of these three different domains. What is required is your ability to combine all of them and come out with pragmatic solutions to problems. You must be able to combine the philosophical aspects, the psychological aspects, and administrative aspects, and come out with practical solutions. This is what I always say. Your ability to score good marks in this paper depends on your knowledge of other papers of GS. General Studies paper 1, 2 and 3. Your knowledge of social issues, your knowledge of polity and governance, your knowledge of economy, your knowledge of disaster management, and your knowledge of internal security. All these things combined together is what is required for this paper. All these things combined together, and you must have that ability to interlink all of them. And more importantly than anything else, what is required is your knowledge of your society, Indian society. Your knowledge of the society in terms of traditions, customs, values, laws, rules and regulations. You should know why people behave in such a manner. You should know why our political systems are unaccountable. You should know why our bureaucracy is inefficient. You should know why there is unholy nexus in between political executive and bureaucracy. You should know why materialistic societies in India have had a drastic impact on the value system of our societies. You must have a functional and practical knowledge of our societies. That is what this paper demands. That is the reason why any amount of knowledge of philosophers or any amount of knowledge of philosophies will not be helpful for you. In the last 4 years, UPSC has not asked even a single philosopher, and they will never ask also. Why? Because this is not a philosophy paper. This is not a philosophy paper. Ethics are different from philosophies. That is what you must remember. What you must have the knowledge is how to apply the philosophies in day-to-day life. How to apply those philosophies in our day-to-day life as a common citizen and also as an administrator. More importantly, as an administrator. As an administrator, how can you use your knowledge of philosophies, to justify the actions you are taking? To justify the actions you are taking. Because what you must remember is that in life, there is nothing like a black and white. There is nothing like a good and bad. The reality always lies between good and bad. No action of yours can be considered as completely good, nor can it be considered as completely bad. So we are trading this thin line between good and bad. So you must know what you are doing, why you are doing, and the justifications for your decisions. And that is what UPSC is expecting from you. It requires very good knowledge of the functioning of Indian societies, sociology. It requires very good knowledge of functioning of our political system, polity. It requires very good knowledge of functioning of our economic systems, economy. And a very good knowledge of functioning of our governance systems, bureaucracy. And you must be able to combine all of them. So that is what the syllabus is all about. The spirit behind the syllabus. Now let us look at the contents of the syllabus. Let us look at the contents of the syllabus and how we are going to proceed with the syllabus. So, if you look at the first topic, ethics and human interface, essence, determinants and consequences of ethics in human actions, dimensions of ethics, ethics in public and private relationships, human values, lessons from the lives and the teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators, the role of a family, society and educational institutions in inculcating values. That is what the syllabus talks about. Again, in the whole of ethics paper, what we are focusing on, not the meaning of the terms, what we should be focusing on, the why aspect. That is the most important part of your learning. If you are talking about honesty, we will talk about why honesty should be there. If you are talking about integrity, why integrity should be part of it. If you are talking about commitment, why commitment to public services is part of it. So similarly, when you are talking about ethics, we will be starting with why ethics should be there. We are talking about why ethics should be there, and what is the essence of ethics. Why should there be ethics in our societies? Why should be there ethics in our societies? What happens to societies when there are no ethics? And what are ethics? What are the essential components of ethics? And what are the different dimensions of ethics? These are the things which we shall try to study as part of this topic. Perhaps the most interesting part of your syllabus is the first chapter of your syllabus. The most interesting part of your syllabus is the first chapter of your syllabus. Why? Because it really gives us the spirit behind the whole syllabus. When we talk about learning about ethics, it essentially means learning about life itself. When we take birth and before we die, the question we should be asking is what we should do in our life. What are the things we can do? What are the things that we should do? And what are the things that we should leave, we cannot do? That is what about ethics. Ethics is all about human life. It is all about what we can do and what we should not do. Okay, and here we will be asking very important questions as part of this topic, the first topic of your syllabus. We will be asking questions about what is the essence of human life. What is the essence of human life? Why do we take birth and why do we die? And what we are expected to do in between. Birth and death, they are not in our hands. Both of them are not in our hands. But in between, it is in our hands. So what is the essence of human life? What is the essence? Yes. One more thing is that our classes will be mostly in a dialogue form, not in a monologue. I will be dictating and you will be taking down. That is not the essence of ethics. Ethics is all about others. So, I expect you to come out with answers. Now, because these are the things which do not require any kind of factual knowledge. I want you to think and analyze. Why do we take birth and why? What should we do before we die? What is the essence of human life? Yes. What is the essence? To do some memorable work. Okay. Anything else? Making the world a better place. That can be done once we are not there. As long as we are there, it will not. Continuation of? Now, how can we ensure continuation of civilization? Yes. To life to our fullest potential. So, for Osama bin Laden, fullest potential. For the president of North Korea, what is fullest potential? Use all his nuclear warheads against America. Pardon? Live and let live others. Okay. How? That is what we will try to find answers to as part of our discussions. And then as part of these discussions, we will try to see what the great reformers and philosophers had to say about the essence of human life. What they had to say about the objectives of our life. And we will try to analyze them. And we will try to see where we can implement their ideologies and philosophies. That is what the first topic of our syllabus says. Human values, lessons from the lives and teachings of great leaders, reformers and administrators. Role of family, society, educational institutions in inculcating values. Next, the second topic of your syllabus is attitude, content, structure, function. Its influence and relation with thought and behavior. Moral and political attitudes. Social influence and persuasion. So what are we saying here? Why did UPSC include this topic in syllabus again? Why they have included this topic in syllabus is because it is the attitude of bureaucracy in India which is responsible for their inefficiency. which is responsible for their failure. It is the attitude of a political executive, political attitudes, which is characterized by double standards, which is characterized by hypocrisy. That is responsible for again lack of development in India. So we must know about political attitudes, we must know about bureaucratic attitudes, and we must know what kind of changes should be made to political and bureaucratic attitudes so that we can make them effective in their functioning. So to understand about political and bureaucratic attitudes, we should know what is attitude in the first place. What is the relation between attitude and behavior, and how they influence our functioning. That is the reason why UPSC included this topic in your syllabus. 3 years back there was an essay that was asked which says that colonial attitude of our administrators are responsible for lack of development in our country. Colonial attitude. What is this colonial attitude? How it has impacted, and how this colonial attitude should be replaced with democratic values. This is what we are going to study as part of this topic. First we will look at the theoretical aspects, and then we will go to the practical aspects. The next topic of your syllabus, aptitude and foundational values for civil services. Integrity, impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, dedication to public service, empathy, tolerance, compassion towards the weaker sections. Again, why this was included? Why? Because civil servants in India, they have neither knowledge about administration nor the necessary values for them to become true servants of people. When we talk about administration, we keep on talking about administration. What is the meaning of the word administration? You ask all these IAS officers or IPS officers or any other civil servant, 99% of them don't know. Remaining 1% will give wrong answer. Okay. So what is the meaning of the word administration? The meaning of the word administration is to serve. It is derived from a Latin word administrate, which says to serve the people. And they think that the meaning of the word is to govern. Governing is different from serving. Ruling is different from serving. That is the reason why you require different kind of attitudes for you to be successful. You need completely different attitudes for you to be successful as a civil servant. This is what we keep on saying all the time in the whole of our ethics discussions. What we say that if you are a good human being, you can be a good anything. You can be a good citizen. You can be a good student. You can be a good teacher. You can be a good administrator. That is why when we talk about these values, we say that goodness is the mother of all moral attitudes. All other moral attitudes can be derived from goodness. And then we talk about specific values for civil services in the form of honesty, integrity, impartiality, non-partisanship, objectivity, rationality, and transparency, accountability, responsibility, responsiveness, empathy. Like this we talk about so many other values. And when we talk about all those values, we always ask the question why that value should be an integral part of a civil servant's character and behavior. That is what UPSC expects from you. The next topic of your syllabus is emotional intelligence, concepts and their utilities and applications in administration and governance. Again, this emotional intelligence it is partly a psychological concept, but more than the psychological aspects, we will be looking at the practical aspects of emotional intelligence. We will ask the question, why emotional intelligence is necessary for civil servants? We will ask the question, what happens if they don't have necessary emotional intelligence? We will ask the question, what is the application of emotional intelligence in civil services? There we talk about important philosophers, important philosophers like Max Weber, his bureaucratic theory of ordination. Why his bureaucracy has failed in developing countries like India? Why his concept of organizational rationality cannot be suitable for a country like India? The question which was asked last year. So we will talk about all these things. We will talk about what are the important aspects of emotional intelligence. We will talk about why they are necessary for a civil servant. Next, contributions of moral thinkers and philosophers from India and the world. We will be doing this topic along with the first chapter of your syllabus. Both the topics will be done simultaneously. Contributions of moral philosophers and thinkers from India and the world. So we will be looking at important philosophers. It does not mean that we will be looking at hundreds of philosophers. We will be looking at very important, around 10-12 of them, both Western and Indian. Since we are true Indians, we will start with Western philosophers. Then we will come to Indian philosophy. So in Western philosophers, we look at important thinkers like Aristotle, Epicurus, Thomas Aquinas, and then political philosophers and social philosophers. We look at them. Then we will come to the Indian philosophy. We look at, as part of Indian philosophy, we will be looking at Hindu philosophy and Buddhist and Jain philosophies. Again, when we are learning their philosophies, our objective is not to become a philosopher. Our objective is to use their philosophies in day-to-day administration, and also, more importantly, in administration. This is what we shall be doing as part of the learning process. Next, the last two topics of your syllabus are purely administration, public administration. Public and civil services values in ethics in public administration, status and problems, ethical concerns and dilemmas in government and private institutions, laws, rules and regulations, and conscience as a source of ethical guidance, accountability and ethical governance, strengthening of ethical and moral values in governance, ethical issues in international relations and funding, corporate governance. So when we talk about ethics in governance, we are talking about three important things here. We are talking about ethics in the functioning of political systems, in the functioning of bureaucracy, and then we will talk about ethics in the functioning of the economic system, corporate governance. Then we will also talk about ethics in international relations, a very, very important topic. Next, the last topic of our syllabus is probity in governance, concept of public service, philosophical basis of governance and probity, information sharing and transparency in government, RTI, code of ethics, code of conduct, citizen charters, work culture, quality of service delivery, utilization of public funds, challenges of corruption. Again, as I said, these are all purely practical aspects of public administration. So we will talk about the difference between code of conduct and code of ethics. We will talk about why there is so much of corruption in India. We will talk about what is the reason why service delivery mechanisms in India are not effective. We will talk about the philosophical basis of governance. We will start from the days of Ramayana and Mahabharata, go to Kautilya, and then talk about Mahatma Gandhi, the 7 sins of Mahatma Gandhi. And then we will discuss about other important philosophers, the modern philosophers, Vivekananda, Jawaharlal Nehru, Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, and then Dr. Babirao Ambedkar. These are all the what you call the role models for us. Okay, and we will talk about their contribution, and we will see how we can use their ideas in our answers as part of all these things. See, this is the whole of the syllabus, and then you have the other reforms like RTI, the citizen charters, the code of conduct and code of ethics, all these things. And then finally, towards the end, we will come to the practical aspects, the case studies. Why UPSC has included case studies? To check your aptitude and again attitude. Aptitude in the form of knowledge of administration. Attitude in the form of values in administration. They would like to see whether you have the necessary aptitude and attitude. That they can see only when you are put in a particular position. For example, the question says that you are an information commissioner, and someone has sought information about what you have done in your previous position. If you provide the information, it can result in punishment for you. Under those circumstances, what will you do? Similarly, you are the chief engineer, responsible for constructing a flyover, and some discrepancies have taken place. What will you do? And similarly, they will ask much more analytical things in the form of urban-rural divide, in the form of empowerment of women, the macro issues related to the functioning of our societies. So for these case studies, apart from the knowledge of the section A, what is required is your practical knowledge of general studies paper 1, 2, 3, so that you must utilize them. For example, disaster management, a very important topic in your general studies paper 3, which you must use the knowledge in case studies. Last year 2 case studies were related to disaster management. Every year at least 1 or 2 case studies will be related to disaster management. If you have good theoretical knowledge of disaster management, then only you can write good answers for case studies. So this is what the syllabus is all about. Next question is, what are the sources? What you must be studying for this paper? A very important issue. What are the sources? The first important source for your this paper is second ERC report, Ethics in Governance. Second ERC report, Ethics in Governance. UPSC, you must remember, will never go beyond the second ERC reports. Last year in section A, all the questions were directly picked up from second ERC reports, including Mahatma Gandhi's 7 sins, Kautilya question, Max Weber question, and Rawls' theory of justice. Everything was from second ERC reports. They will never go beyond this. This is one very most important source of information for you for section A. Then what are the other things? Next, you must go through other second ERC reports also for various topics of your ethics. Second ERC report on RTI, right information. Then second ERC report on social capital, another report. Next, 10th report of second ERC on personal administration, civil services. 10th report of second ERC on personal administration. Next, another report, citizen-centric administration. Citizen-centric administration. Next, another report, crisis management, disaster management. Crisis management. These are the reports which you must be going through. There is no shortcut to success. Time is less, but you have to make up time. It is better to read all the reports. How many of you will be writing mains this year? So it is better, at least for those who are not writing mains this year, they must be going through all the reports extensively. For those who are writing mains, if they don't have time, they can have the synopsis of those reports, but it will only be less than optimal, not maximizing your preparation. Next, these are the reports which you have to go through. What are the other source materials? Next one is some of important books like Vinod Roy, our former CAG, has written a book, Not Just an Accountant. The name of the book is Not Just an Accountant. A very good book, because UPSC has a tendency to pick up the case studies from these books only. Very good book. It gives you practical knowledge of administration, which is necessary for your ethics paper for both section A and section B. Vinod Roy book. Then if you want, you can go through another book by P.C. Parekh, former coal secretary, regarding the coal scam. It is about a coal scam. He was the coal secretary when the scam took place. So he has written his version of what happened. Not only that, he had written about his entire life as a civil servant, right from the day he got into civil services, from his first official position as sub collector till coal secretary. Again, this book gives you very in-depth knowledge about the life of a civil servant, the kind of ethical problems they face, and the kind of solutions they had come out with. So again, his book is very important. This book is also very important. And apart from this, whatever the study material we give you, you will be getting study material. You will be getting 3 booklets. They are also very important. I will be giving the summary of second year reports from ethics paper point of view. I will be giving the summary of this citizen-centric administration, social capital, and RTA. I will be giving the summary of those things. And more than anything else, what is extremely important for you is our class notes, whatever that I dictate in the class. That should be the basic source of study material for you, because we will be combining the best of all other sources. And more than that, whatever the discussions that take place in the class, because in the notes you will be writing the things, but you will not be writing everything. Whatever I dictate, you will be writing, but the discussions are more important. You must be able to analyze, you must be able to understand and come to your own conclusion on the basis of your values and character. That is what we do as part of our syllabus from now onwards. And every day we will have around 2 to 2.5 hours classes, between 2 to 2.5 hours. Mostly it is 2.5 hours only. And we will have classes for 5 days a week, and mostly on Saturdays we will have the test, and you will have 4 tests. You will have 4 tests. One test we will have after completing the section A part. Another test will be after the case studies. Then immediately after the completion of the syllabus, you have comprehensive test for both section A and section B. And finally, before the examination, one more test. That is how we will be doing the things. And one thing you must remember is that whatever we do in the class is more than sufficient. It is more than sufficient for you to get respectable marks in this paper. So let us, without wasting our time, get into the syllabus. Let us get into the syllabus. If you have any doubts, you can ask. Yes, any other doubt? Since we have not done anything, you will not have any doubts also. Okay, ignorance is always bliss. So coming back here, let us start with the first topic of our syllabus, ethics and human interface. Ethics and human interface. What we will be discussing here, what we are going to discuss here. As I said, this is one of the most interesting topics of our syllabus. The most interesting. Rest of the topics are slightly boring, but this is very interesting. What we are going to discuss, we start with why should there be any ethics? Why should there be an ethics, first of all? Why should we have ethics? Then we will talk about what is the meaning of ethics. What is the meaning of ethics? Then we will talk about the important sources of ethics. important sources of ethics. Then we will try to differentiate between ethics, values and morals. We will try to differentiate between ethics, values and morals. Then we will come to the perhaps the most important part of this topic, the dynamics of ethics. Dynamics of ethics. How ethics have evolved over a period of time. What kind of values were there some time back, how the values have changed over a period of time. Dynamics of ethics. Then we will try to answer the question, are these ethics, values and morals, are they absolute or relative? Are they absolute or relative? We keep on talking about ethics, values and morals. Are they absolute or relative? We will try to answer this question. Are they universal or situational? Then we will go to the dimensions of ethics. Dimensions of ethics. What are the different dimensions of ethics? We will talk about deontological ethics, teleological ethics, virtue ethics. Like that we will talk about different dimensions of ethics. Then after discussing the dimensions of ethics, we will go to the contribution of moral and political philosophers. Contribution of philosophers from India and the world. From India and the world. Then we will also see the role of family and educational institutions. Role of family and educational institutions in inculcating ethics and values. So this is what we shall be discussing. This is what we shall be discussing as part of the first topic of our syllabus. This is what we shall be discussing. So let us start with why ethics. So do you have any idea, general idea about this ethics? What are they? Pardon? Study of human behavior. No. Yes, basically we say that they are nothing but the traditions and customs followed by people in a society. They are nothing but the traditions and customs followed by people in a society. So why should we have these ethics? Let us try to answer that question. Why should we have this ethics? Then we will come to the what of ethics. Why? Because first reason is human beings are social animals. We are social animals. Human beings are social animals. Human beings are dependent on others for their survival. They are dependent on others for their survival. But what do we mean by this? What is the meaning of both these statements? If you look at the entire animal kingdom, if you look at all the species on this earth, what is so unique about human beings? All other creatures on this earth can live independently, whereas it is only the human beings who are hopelessly dependent on others for their survival. If we are hungry, we cannot cook our own food. We cannot produce our own food. We cannot weave our own clothes. We cannot educate ourselves. We cannot cure our health problems. For everything we have to depend on others. For everything we have to depend on others. We are hopelessly dependent on others for our survival. That is the reason why we have engineers, doctors, lawyers, accountants and administrators and everything. Because they are the ones who will be providing services to us. That is the reason why we have a family. We have a society. We have friends to satisfy our needs, psychological and otherwise, financial. And that is the reason why human beings always live in groups. Since the beginning of civilization, it has been recognized by early human beings that it would not be possible for them to survive all alone. Unlike other animals. For example, if you take the case of dogs or pigs, do they have any engineers or doctors? They don't have. We have engineers and doctors who can be called dogs. That's a different thing. But they don't. There are no dog engineers, right? That is what we say. We are dependent hopelessly on others for our survival. When we are dependent on others for our survival, what is this relationship? How this relationship should evolve? And what are the contours of this relationship? That is what ethics teaches. Why ethics are needed? Because for the simple reason that we cannot do anything on our own. We cannot survive on our own. We cannot live on our own. Can you imagine living all alone without talking to others? Can you imagine? For how long can you live without talking to others? Without having any kind of interaction with others? What is the maximum amount of time? 2-3 seconds. After that we will die. Okay, after that we will die. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi cannot live without tweeting, even for a single second. Social animals. As social animals, we always need this kind of, we always feel the need to satisfy, these basic things. We always try to share everything with others. We always try to, communicate with others. We cannot live without others. Can you? It is difficult. Did you ever think of a situation wherein, you are, all alone, not having access to mobile phones, not having access to television, not having access to computers and internet, not having access to people. What happens after one day? He will be immediately sent to mental asylum. He will become mad. No, it's a fact. It's a fact, we have to recognize. So that is the reason why, when we cannot live without others, then what is that relationship with others? How this relationship be defined, which is beneficial for both of you. That is what ethics teaches. Ethics tells us about these things. Next reason why do we need ethics? Next one is human beings by nature are selfish. By nature, human beings are selfish. Or if you believe that this term selfish is hard, you can say that self-interest dominates behavior of human beings. It is a self-interest that dominates behavior of human beings. It dominates. Now what happens if everyone is selfish in nature? If everyone is selfish in nature, then what happens? There will not be any relationship. Why? Because everyone tries to deceive others for their self-interest. Can there be any society? That is the reason why you require ethics. Ethics will tell us what is good and what is bad, what we can do and what we should not do when we deal with others. If self-interest dominates, it only results in a destruction of relationships. Everyone tries to deceive everyone else. You will have only trust deficit in societies. People cannot have faith in their governments. Producers will not have faith in the consumers. And political parties will not have faith in the citizens. And parents will not have faith in children. Destruction. Why? Because we are always guided by self-interest. We are always guided by self-interest. Whether we like it or not, we are always guided by self-interest. How many of us can be selfless in our behavior? Very difficult. As human beings, for us, Darwin's theory, survival of the fittest. He never talked about survival of the goodest. Survival of the good person. Good person can never survive. Who will survive? Who is stronger? That is the reason why Kautilya always talks about might being right. Might is always right. Power is always right. So if you are a powerful person, whatever you do is always considered good. So if that is the case, no society can survive for longer periods of time. Why? Because we are selfish. And that is the reason why we require ethics. We need ethics because we are always guided by self-interest. Next reason why we need ethics. Next reason why we require ethics. We say that the natural tendency of any society is to move towards entropy. The natural tendency of any society is to move towards entropy. E-N-T-R-O-P-Y. Entropy. What does it mean? It means moving towards destruction. Is to move towards destruction. This is what we call the laws of nature. What does laws of nature tell us? Anything that takes birth has to die. Right? Is there anything that is called permanent in this world? Immortality is not there for us. Human beings are not permanent. How many of us can say that we are permanent here? We will be here forever. Even Atal Bihari Vajpayee has to die someday. He is already 5,000 years old, but he will die. Atal Bihari Vajpayee is still alive, right? Yes, L.K. Advani also has to die. Okay? Because all of us, what is the real truth of life? The real truth of life is, with the passage of time, the only thing which is certain is our death. So whenever people celebrate birthdays, I can never understand. They are nothing but birthdays, they are only death days. You are moving towards your final destination. You should feel bad and cry. I don't know why they celebrate birthdays. Right? That is what philosophy teaches you. Right? So that is what happens. The natural tendency of people is to move towards final destination. If people are not permanent, then the question that we are asking is, can people created institutions ever be permanent? If we are not permanent, can the institutions created by people, will they ever be permanent? Obviously, they can never be permanent. And people created institutions are societies, governments, other institutions. Will they ever be permanent? Obviously. So what we are saying here is, as you proceed, as the time passes by, the only thing that is certain is you are moving towards entropy, destruction. You are only moving towards entropy, destruction. So, what you must do to prevent this entropy, to prevent this destruction, what you must do? You require ethics. Ethics are needed to ensure negative entropy. They are needed to ensure negative entropy. They are needed to ensure negative entropy. That means ethics are needed for survival of societies for longer periods of time. Continuation of societies for longer periods of time. Ethics are needed for continuation of societies for longer periods of time. Next, what are the other reasons why we require ethics? Next reason why do we need ethics is because the growth and development of any country, of any society, not only survival but also the growth and development, of any society depends on the ethical norms of that society. Ethical norms of that society. What do we mean by that? After Second World War, this is what we say, after Second World War, Japan was completely destroyed. After Second World War, Japan was completely destroyed. But it had recovered in a very short period of time and had become again an economic superpower. It had become again an economic superpower. Why? Because of the ethics of the societies. Because of the ethical norms of their societies. Ethical norms of their societies. Because of the ethical norms of their societies. And similarly, he gives the example of India. India also got independence after Second World War. After 200 years of colonial exploitation. 200 years of colonial exploitation, we got independence. But after 70 years of independence, still India is home to largest number of poor people. After 70 years of independence, we are still home to largest number of poor people living in this world. 70 years is a good amount of time to evaluate. 70 years is a good amount of time to evaluate our performance. And that is the reason why this year, those who are writing mains, in essay, one essay definitely will be about 70 years of independence. It is a good amount of time to evaluate. What is the reason why, in spite of having the best of the natural resources in the world, India is not able to develop? Why? Because ethical norms, ethical infrastructure in our society, in our country is weak. That is the reason why we say that ethics are needed for growth and development of societies. They are needed for growth and development of societies. Next reason why ethics are required. Ethics are required to regulate negative behavior. Ethics are needed to regulate negative behavior. They are needed to regulate negative behavior and promote positive values. they are needed to regulate negative behavior and promote positive values among the people. Next reason why ethics are required is because ethics will provide as guidelines whenever we face dilemmas in taking decisions. They provide us guidelines whenever we face any dilemmas in taking decisions. As human beings, as we have said earlier, in this world, nothing is completely right and completely wrong. We never say that nothing is completely good and completely bad. We always face this kind of dilemmas. What is right and what is wrong? What should we do in a specific circumstance, in a specific situation? We always face the dilemmas. For example, you are attending the examination. You are going to write the examination. Suddenly you have seen an accident on the roadside. If you don't take that person to hospital, that person might die. If you don't attend the examination, you cannot achieve your life ambitions. Under those circumstances, what will you do? Under those circumstances, you will kill that person and go to the examination. So that there is no dilemma. So, now what will you do? That is what ethics will try to teach us. They will try to provide these guidelines. They will try to provide guidelines whenever we face ethical dilemmas in our day-to-day life. So why do we need ethics? We have seen all the reasons. We have looked at all the reasons. Human beings are always guided by self-interest. We are social animals. Our survival depends on our relationship with others. And then natural tendency of society is to move towards entropy. And then the growth and development of societies always depends on ethical norms. And then we said that ethics help us to regulate our negative behavior and promote positive values. Ultimately, as we have said, they help us to come out with right decisions whenever we face ethical dilemmas. Now, when we talk about these ethical dilemmas, let us try to look a bit further about these things. We always face this dilemma. What is this? The problem. What is good for us may not be good for the society. And what is good for the society may not be good for us. Under those circumstances, what should we do? What is good for us as individual may not be good for the society. What is good for the society may not be good for us as individuals. So if we have this conflict between individual happiness and societal welfare, what should we do? What should we do when we face this ethical conflict between individual happiness and societal welfare? We should try to find happiness in the society. How many of you are like that? Put your hand on your heart and say that. Can you give me at least one instance wherein you have sacrificed your individual happiness for the sake of the society? At least one instance. There is no middle path here. Either you are there or here. Either you are with us or against us, simple. We should? Come again? Sleep. That is what you are doing all the time. Why do you have to, why do you have to repeat it again? Okay. Yes, apart from that? Apart from that, this is where we will be looking at various philosophies and other things. When this kind of conflict is faced, we have one of the topmost philosophers, economic philosophers, Adam Smith. Take down Adam Smith, one of the topmost economic philosophers. Adam Smith is known as the father of economics. Adam Smith is known as the father of economics. He is known as the father of economics. And what did he say? He said that if every individual in the society, every person in the society takes care of his own self-interest, comma, there is an invisible hand, invisible hand, that transforms this self-interest into societal welfare. This philosophy of Adam Smith had revolutionized the entire world. He had come out with this philosophy in 1776. He had published a book, An Inquiry into the Wealth of Nations, 1776, wherein he had come out with this philosophy. And this philosophy of Adam Smith had provided strong foundations for capitalism. Capitalism is based on this philosophy. Capitalist economies. Capitalism. So what is he trying to say here? What he has said is that it has provided strong foundations for capitalism as an economic system. Capitalism has got the much needed philosophical impetus on the basis of Adam Smith findings. And he had given a convincing explanation for people also about what he had said. So what he had said is that if you face any conflict about individual happiness and societal welfare, forget about society. Only think about your own self-interest. Take decisions on the basis of your self-interest. So that automatically those decisions will transform into societal welfare. There is an invisible hand that transforms self-interest into societal welfare. Invisible hand. Invisible means which cannot be seen. Visible hand means Congress party. Okay. We can see it. Congress party can never, ensure societal welfare. That's why he talked about invisible hand. Okay. So let us see how did he explain it. The explanation is very important for us because this question was asked by UPSC almost every year. The conflict between self-interest and societal welfare. You have to include Smithian philosophy in almost all your answers. He had given a very example. He had explained this from the point of view of the functioning of the economic system. He said that let us take the case of a businessman. how did he explain it? He said that let us take the case of a businessman. Let us assume that he has, say, 100 crores of rupees of money with himself. What is his self-interest here? How to earn the maximum amount of money with this 100 crores as a businessman. So what can he do? He can put the money in the bank. Then bank will give you interest. But will that be sufficient for you? If the bank is giving you 8% interest rate, inflation is 10%, you will have only negative returns. So no intelligent businessman will ever put money in his bank. If it is a public sector bank in India, you will lose the money also. Non-performing assets. Okay. So you will not have anything. So what is the course of action for this businessman? He has to invest that money and get maximum returns. And get maximum returns, maximum profits. So what will he do? He will set up an industry. He will set up an industry with that money. To set up this industry, what is required? First, you require land. So he has to pay money to the landlord. Landlord will get money to buy the land. Then he has to buy machinery. Then he will be paying money to the businessman who sells the machinery. Then he has to employ labor. And for those workers, he has to pay wages. Then he has to buy raw material. Again, he has to pay money for the raw material. And after doing all these things, what will he do? He will produce goods, sells them in the market, and he will earn profits. Profits can be at least 50% on his investment. Right? Profits. So what he has done is, he has come out with an intelligent way of earning more returns on his investment. Purely self-interest here. Right? Purely self-interest, nothing else. But in the process, what happened? He has created demand for land. He has created demand for machinery. He has provided employment to people. And he has created demand for raw material. So many sections of society had benefited because of his selfish decision. So many sections of society benefited because of his selfish decision. That is what exactly Adam Smith has said. He said that please take care of your only self-interest. There is an invisible hand that transforms this self-interest into societal welfare. There is an invisible hand. For example, this worker who is working in his factory, is he working in the factory because he wanted to produce goods and services? No. Why is he working in the factory? Self-interest. To get wages. Self-interest. Similarly, the landlord who is selling the land, does the landlord has any kind of industrial policy like the government of India? No. Landlord is selling the land because he wanted money. Self-interest. Yes.
So what about automated car with
Everything, nothing can be created out of thin air. You need to employ people for everything. Whatever the commodity that you are producing, it has to be done with the help of people only. So whenever you are producing something, you are helping any other section of society. To produce automated car, you have to employ people, you have to employ engineers, you have to buy raw material, you have to buy machinery, you have to assemble them. There you are helping so many people. That is what Adam Smith has said. What Adam Smith has said is that don't worry about the society at all. Don't think about the society. Just look after your own self-interest. Just think about your own welfare, and automatically it transforms into societal welfare. Yourself, when a laborer is working in the factory, he is working for self-interest, that is to earn wages, to support his family. He is working for his self-interest. Is he working for the growth and development of the country? No. He is working for the much higher objectives of prosperity of the society? No. Here everyone is working for self-interest. And Smith has said that please let everyone think about their self-interest. It automatically transforms into societal welfare. He has provided this solution. But what is the problem with this solution? Why can't we agree with this philosophy? Why can't we agree? As I said, in the last 4 years, at least 5 to 6 questions were asked only about this topic. Why this philosophy is wrong? Because there is no limit for self-interest. Why this philosophy is wrong is because there is no limit for self-interest. There is no limit for self-interest. There is no limit. That's what we say. Oxygen for capitalism is profits. Oxygen for capitalism is profits. Oxygen for capitalism is profits. That means capitalism cannot survive without profits. And what is the problem here? The problem here is there is no saturation point for profits. There is no saturation point. There is no saturation point for profits. There is no limit for profits. Then what happens? In order to maximize profits, capitalists will always try to exploit other factors of production in order to maximize profits. Capitalist always tries to exploit other sections. And the problem here is societies are unequal societies. Societies are unequal societies. They are not egalitarian societies. They are not egalitarian societies. And societies are divided in the name of, what is the major difference in the societies? Economic differences. You have rich people and you have poor people. You have rich people and you have poor people. In the name of capitalism and profit maximization, what happens? In the name of capitalism and profit maximization, rich people always exploit poor people. Rich people always exploit poor people. Capitalists will always exploit workers. Capitalists will always exploit workers. Capitalists will always exploit workers. So, can self-interest result automatically in societal welfare? Can never be. Self-interest can never automatically result in societal welfare. Why? Because for the simple reason that there is no saturation point for self-interest. You are only talking about economy. Look at other sectors. You take the case of political systems. Political systems. Will the Congress party come and say that out of 70 years we have been in power for almost 60 years, so let us give opportunity to others? Will they say that? No. Will Narendra Modi say that 5 years is enough for me? So next after 2019 elections, let others to become the Prime Minister of the country? No. Why? Because as we keep on saying, there is no saturation point for money and power. There is no saturation point for money and power. And for that you do not mind adopting any kind of unethical means, like what happened in Gujarat yesterday. Every political party was indulging in unethical politics. Why? Because all of them are thinking about the much dreaded word self-interest. So when Adam Smith says that if everyone looks after their self-interest, it automatically results in societal welfare, he is only partially right. It is not completely right. To some extent what he says is right. To some extent what he says can be called right. But to a large extent what he says is completely wrong. Then what is the real situation then? What is the reality? If there is a conflict between individual self-interest and societal welfare, what should we give importance to? What should we give importance to? We should give importance to societal welfare. Happiness of individual lies, that is what we say. Happiness of individual lies in peace and prosperity of societies. That is what we say. Happiness of individual lies in peace and prosperity of the society. That is what ethics basically teaches. They say that we must sacrifice our personal interest. We must sacrifice our personal interest for the sake of the society. For the sake of the society. Why? Because happiness of individual lies in the peace and prosperity of the society. So how do you support this statement? Happiness of individual lies in the peace and prosperity of the society. How do you support this statement? How do you support this statement? We have rejected Adam Smith theory on the basis of facts. Similarly, how do you support this statement? Why do we say that happiness of individual lies in peace and prosperity of the societies? Why? Because of what we have said in the beginning. Human beings are social animals. Human beings are social animals. And they are dependent on others for their survival. Human beings are social animals and they are dependent on others for their survival. Let us give an example to support this. For example, there are floods in your area. There are floods in your area. You are a grocery shop owner in your area. You are a grocery shop owner. What happens? What does economics teach you? What does economics teach you? It says that prices are always determined on the basis of demand and supply. And you have all the necessary, all the necessities which are needed for day-to-day life. You have milk, you have vegetables, you have other groceries or other food items. And since it's been raining continuously, people do not have access to these basic needs. It's been raining continuously for 2 days. So they will come to you. What economics teaches you? Increase the prices. If the price of say milk per liter is 40 rupees, sell it at 100 rupees. Sell it at demand, on the basis of demand, 150 rupees. So a doctor comes to you in your locality and you will say that milk is 150 rupees. He will buy it because there is no other option. And you will be very happy because you made so much of profit. Tomorrow, one of your family members have a problem with health. You will approach the doctor And what will he do? One injection, whether it is required or not, he will charge 1000 rupees. That is what, our actions will always have reactions. So if we look at the short-term personal interest, it will have long-term adverse consequences. That is what we say. If we only look at short-term personal interest, if we look at short-term personal interest, it will only have a long-term adverse consequences. And that is the reason why we don't agree with what Adam Smith has said. We don't agree with what Adam Smith has said because self-interest can never be translated into societal welfare. That is the reason why we say that in case of a conflict between societal prosperity and individual happiness, we should always give importance to societal prosperity. Why? Because we are part of the society. Continuing with this, we have seen why ethics are required. Let us see what are ethics. What is the meaning of ethics? What is the meaning of ethics? What are ethics? Ethics are derived from the word ethos, E-T-H-O-S. Ethos, which means traditions, customs, values, and cultures. Traditions, customs, values, and cultures. Ethics may be defined as the traditions, customs, values, cultures. They may be defined as the traditions, customs, cultures, values, rules, regulations, and laws. They may be defined as traditions, customs, values, cultures, rules, regulations, and laws, 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 which are followed by a society over a period of time. Which are followed by a society over a period of time for its survival. Over a period of time for its survival. For its survival. That is what we say. What are ethics? They are nothing but the traditions, customs, values, rules, regulations, and laws which are followed by a society over a period of time for its survival. Next, objective of ethics is to regulate negative human behavior. Objective of ethics is to regulate negative human behavior. And change it according to the needs of the society. Change it according to the needs of the society. Next, ethics is all about others. Ethics is all about others. It is all about others. That is, an individual's relationship with others in the society. An individual's relationship with others in the society. It is all about others. They tell us about ethics, they tell us about They tell us about the sacrifices need to be made by individuals. Sacrifices need to be made by individuals for the overall benefit of the society. For the overall benefit of the society. They tell us about next. They tell us about what we can do. What we can do and what we should not do. In our relationship with others. In our relationship with others. What we can do and what we should not do. In our relationship with others. So this is what we say about ethics. They are the traditions, customs, norms, cultures, values, rules, regulations and laws that are needed for the smooth functioning of societies. Why? Because as we have said, we are selfish in nature. We are individualistic in our behavior and we always are guided by selfish interest. That is the reason why we require ethics to mold our behavior, to change our behavior according to the needs of the society. They will tell us what we can do and what we should not do in our relationship with others. They impose restrictions on our negative behavior. They try to promote positive values. How these ethics are evolved? They are evolved over a period of time. Next, continuing with this, what are the important sources of ethics? What are the important sources of ethics? What are the important sources of ethics? So, in our society, from where do we derive our ethics? What are the important sources of ethics? Pardon? Religion. Okay. Parents. Then? Yeah, educational institutions. Then? The most important source, the government. The government will tell us what we can do and what we should not do. Government tells us that you have to pay taxes and don't expect any services. Highest source of ethics, nishkam karma. Perform your duty. And government tells us that you always make all kinds of sacrifices so that our Prime Minister can visit all the countries around the world. Okay, you give up your LPG subsidies, you give up your petrol subsidies, you give up your rail subsidies. At some point of time, you give up your life also. That is what. So, that is what. So, let us see the important source of ethics. The first important source of ethics for any society is God and religion. The first important source of ethics is God and religion. In any society, this is the most important source of ethics. So the question here is, how many of you believe in God? Those who are not raising hands, they don't believe in God? Okay, for those who have raised their hands, why do you believe in God? Have you seen God? Don't say that we have seen just 1 hour back in front of us. Okay. Why? Did God ever come to your rescue? You are told to believe in God. Very good. What happened to your intelligence? Why do you believe in God? Have you ever had any kind of a conversation with God? They are not scientific. They are not scientific. have you ever seen God? Then why do you believe in God?
Listen, answer to the uncertainty. No, we haven't seen nuclear bomb also, but it is there.
But you are not worshipping it as God, right? You are not worshipping it as God, right? You are not building temples for it.
But we are hearing from it.
That's what I am saying. You are not building temples for it.
So we have emotions.
No. Okay, now let us come to the other section. Those who have not raised hands. Why don't you believe in God? Huh? No evidence. That is the reason why you don't believe in God. You want evidence? Don't worry. Just prepare for UPSC. In spite of preparing for UPSC, you want evidence of God, then I cannot do. In the first year of your preparation, you always believe that everything is in your hands. You work hard. Right? You believe that it is your intelligence, commitment, and sincerity that will make you a civil servant. After first year, when you don't clear prelims, you realize that there is some supernatural power. Yeah, but you are not willing to accept that it is God. Your ego comes in the way. Second year, you believe in supernatural power, you will clear prelims. Third, you believe that the supernatural power is nothing but God. So you change your mode of preparation. 50% studying for UPSC, remaining 50% prayer to God. Third year, you clear mains also. Fourth year, 100% prayers to God. You get into service. Fourth year, you will get into IAS. Be intelligent and start the fourth year from now onwards. You require, once God is on your side, UPSC cannot do anything. Don't worry.
Whenever locus of control went to the outside, it is not controlled by yourself.
That is the reason why you believe in God. Can anyone control UPSC? That is why you believe in God. What is the full form of UPSC? Unpredictable Service Commission. Uncertain Public Service Commission. So whenever you have this kind of uncertainty, always have faith in God. And the problem is that God may not come to the rescue of his devotees, but he will definitely take revenge against non-believers. So with a benefit of doubt, always try to believe in God. Those who have not raised hands become more intelligent, have more common sense, and start praying to God. At the end of the day, it is only your prayers to God that will help you to get into services. Your knowledge, studies, hard work, experience, nothing will matter. You must remember these things. Now the question is, okay, now continuing with God. Okay, let us accept that there is something called God. The question is, what is God? I am not asking who is God. Who is God means, you can give the names of Lord Ram, Krishna, Shiva, or Jesus Christ, or Gautam Buddha, or Mahavir Jain, or Pavan Kumar. Like that you can give the names. The last one is more important. Okay. Okay. But who is God? We are getting into the philosophical aspects. Who is God? Who is God? I am not asking for acronym, generator, operator, destroyer, collector, district collectors, they are called gods. We call our collectors gods, yes, because they are invisible, we cannot see them, yes. What is God? A perfect and ideal entity. What is it? What is it? Perfect and ideal entity, it's abstract. What is how can you define it in a more what you call objective. What is God? What are these godly qualities? Yes, sir. What are the godly qualities? Why do you pray to, what is the reason why these people like Lord Ram Krishna and Jesus Christ, all of them had become gods? Think. Yeah, what is that ideal? What is that? What are the qualities? Can we put it in a more civilized manner for ordinary people to understand? What is God? See, let me ask a question. Why do we worship Ram as God? Because he killed Ravan? Anyone who kills Sri Lankans will be called gods then. Ravan was a Lankan. So, anyone who defeats Lankans will be called a god. Virat Kohli, twice god, he defeated them. Is it the god then? Did Ram become god because he killed Ravan? Why do you call Krishna God? Because he had 16,000 wives. And why do you call Jesus Christ God? What are these godly qualities? Pardon? One who destroys the evils, will they be called God? What kind of evils did Jesus Christ destroy? And what did Lord Krishna do? What kind of evils did he destroy? He was not even fighting the war also. What is God? Yes. You call them preachers, not gods then. What is God? And if you look at all the names we have mentioned here, all of them are human beings only. Right? They took birth as human beings. And they had to become gods later. Osama bin Laden. Sweepers. What is God? What is this entity called God? God means goodness in human form. God means goodness in human form. God means sacrifice. God means sacrifice. God means selflessness. God means selflessness. God means unconditional love. God means unconditional love. That is what we say. Ultimately, God means goodness. That is what God. If you look at Lord Ram, he had sacrificed. He had sacrificed everything. The day before his coronation, his father had asked him to go to forest for 14 years. And what did he say? He said that I will go and lead the life like a common man, a poor person. He said that I will go. What did Aurangzeb do? He had imprisoned his own father. Aurangzeb can never be a god. He was always an emperor, can never be a god. Whereas Ram, he had become god because of the sense of sacrifice. He has even sacrificed his wife to protect the dharma. That is why he become god. You know the case of Jesus Christ, he had sacrificed his own life. He had sacrificed his own life. That is the reason why they could become gods. God means sacrifice. God means, as we have said, unconditional love. It means that you love others for the sake of love and not for anything else. God means selflessness. God means selflessness. This is what we always say. True love should always be unconditional and selfless. True love should always be unconditional and selfless. And that is why God is nothing but a form of love. You love others for what they are, and you will not find any fault with others. You always try to help others irrespective of what they think about you. At the time of his death, Jesus Christ, he said that when he was beaten by the Roman soldiers mercilessly, when he was about to die, he said that please God, forgive these people because they don't know what they are doing. You forgive those people who are causing harm to me because they don't know what they are doing. How many of us have that kind of highest quality to forgive our enemies, to forgive those people who are hell-bent on killing us also? That is the reason why they could become God. The more sacrifice you make, the much closer you will be to God. After independence, when the country got independence, Mahatma Gandhi, the undisputed leader of our country, he could have become everything and anything. He could have become the president, come prime minister, come army chief, come Supreme Court chief justice, dictator. That's what we are saying. He could have become everything, but what did he do? He sacrificed everything. That is the reason why he became Mahatma. Mahatma means noble soul. Mahan plus Atma, noble soul, greatest soul. That is why Mahatma Gandhi's place can never be taken by anyone else in modern Indian history. The rest of the people at some point of time always worked for positions, power, prestige, status, where he voluntarily gave up all those things for the sake of the people. And that is what we call God. Mahatma Gandhi said that he will never hate the Britishers, always love them, unconditional love, and try to reform them. That is what we call God. God means unconditional love. It means selflessness. It means sacrifice. It means absolute joy, absolute happiness. That is what we say about God. And that is the ultimate objective of human life. How to become God. The essence of human life, when we study about Hindu philosophy, we say that the essence of human life is to transform ourselves into gods within this life itself. How can we become gods? When you have these qualities, you will automatically become God. As he said, God means omnipotent, omnipresent and omniscient. That means he can do anything. What is the difference between human beings and gods? If we wish something, for that wish to become a reality, we have to work hard. That is what as human beings. In case of gods, his wish automatically turns into reality without any work, because he has control over nature. How could you gain that kind of control over nature? Because of your unconditional love. If you wish good for your friends, your relatives, your other people without expecting something in return, 99 out of 100 times your wish will turn into reality. You become God. You become God. Selflessness, unconditional, selfless. Anyone can become God. And that is the true essence of God. true meaning of God. I think we can stop it here for today, and tomorrow onwards we will continue the rest of the things. Tomorrow onwards, we will have 2.5 hour classes. 2.5 hour classes tomorrow onwards, and we will be completing the syllabus in today is what 9th, so by 10th of September we will complete the syllabus also. Again, as I said, whatever we discuss in the class is more important than anything else, because the conceptual clarity is very, very important. These kind of things you will not find them in the books, any of the study material, whatever we discuss. That's it. We are tomorrow meeting at the same time, exactly 11:30.